Today I'm going to be walking you through my full Nikon photo and video kit and how much I paid for everything. Now for context, I'm a photographer living in New York City. I have been shooting with Nikon gear for the last decade. I have owned over 15 other cameras and 20 other lenses, but this is the stuff that I've chosen to keep, and I'm going to tell you why. I'm also going to show you photo and video samples of most of this gear, so let's get to it. Now this is the Nikon ZF, and it is currently my main Nikon stills camera. Now the ZF is the latest iteration in Nikon's lineup of vintage-inspired camera bodies, following the ZF-C and the earlier Nikon DF, both of which just felt a little too gimmicky for me. It just felt like I was holding a piece of plastic, and I feel like tech-wise they didn't really stand up against the other cameras in Nikon's professional lineup. But this actually feels tough, it feels very sturdy, it feels heavy enough even though it's incredibly light. This guy has 24 megapixels, amazing low light performance, 4K 10-bit video with N-Log, which makes it the perfect street and travel camera. But I've also felt comfortable enough to bring it on larger commercial productions. And the price tag, around $1,900. And truly hats off to Nikon for coming out with something like this. And this right here is the newest addition to my Nikon kit. This is the Nikon ZR, and for those of you who are unfamiliar, this is the first official mashup of Nikon and Red technology after the merger. This guy basically packs 6K red coat raw, 32-bit audio, a full-frame IBIS sensor with 15 stops of dynamic range, and 24 megapixel photos into a body that is lighter and cheaper than an FX3. To me, it was a no-brainer. I just finished shooting my first short with this thing, and I was completely blown away, especially because look at the form factor of this thing. It's so easy to just handhold. I feel like the in-camera stabilization is good enough that you can work with it in post. And even the photo functions are so good that I'm considering selling my Nikon ZF and just keeping this. I don't think I'll do it, but I've considered it, and that's how crazy it is. Now, I have ended up with 6 Z-mount lenses that I use with both of these cameras. First up is this combo of what Nikon calls SE, or I guess special edition lenses. I have a 40mm f2 lens, and I have a 28mm f2.8 lens, both of which are tiny, incredibly light. They also pack incredible sharpness, super fast autofocus, and just amazing performance. I would say given their size and weight, they are the perfect lenses for travel photography. Now, most Nikon mirrorless cameras come with this 24 to 70mm f4 lens, which I have to say is one of the best kit lenses I've ever seen in my life. Period. And it has proven to be a complete powerhouse. Most people tend to look down on kit lenses, but I will have to say this might be one of the few exceptions out there. Hats off to Nikon for packing such value in a kit lens. If you're buying this lens as a standalone item, I think you can get it for around $600. But if you could buy a kit where this comes included and it's cheaper than that, I would say definitely go for it. Now, I also happen to own Nikon's 24 to 70mm f2.8 Mark II lens. This one's actually away on a shoot because I do actually rent out some of my gear, but it cost me around $2,800. If you are a beginner or intermediate photographer, should you splurge on the 24 to 72.8? Bottom line is, I don't think so. If money is limited, I would say just go for 2, fast primes as opposed to the 24 to 70. But if you're actually interested in just owning one lens that can pretty much do everything, I would say go for it. There's also the earlier version of this lens that costs, I would say, around $2,000. So that might be a better option for you. You're also welcome to look at the secondary market to see if there's anything used. But if you can afford it brand new, I would say this 24 to 70mm 2.8 will not disappoint. Now, moving on to the opposite end of the focal distance spectrum, I have the 70 to 180mm f2.8 lens. At around $1,400, this was definitely a splurge. I bought this for a very specific project with a long production time, so it didn't really make sense to rent out lenses so frequently. I would say if you plan to shoot anything like sports or even portraits at a distance, if you're the kind of person who likes to stand really far away, go for it. There might be some cheaper alternatives. You might be better off just getting a long prime, but I've actually ended up using it way more than expected. I would say this is not one of my favorite lenses, but it has not disappointed yet. And finally, I have this 14 to 30mm f4 lens. This is part of Nikon's S line, which is their just highest quality lenses, or so they say. I used to do a lot more work involving architecture and interiors. I don't really shoot those things anymore, but I decided to keep the lens, and I've actually ended up using it for fashion in a lot of cases when I'm shooting editorials. I feel like the wide angle look is definitely back, considering that photography these days is going for a lot more realism than it used to. At around $1,100, I would say it's a little on the expensive side. You might be able to get a third-party lens for a little bit less, but if you can afford it, why not? Now I'm gonna walk you through my 35mm film kit. This is my Nikon F5, and it is my main professional Nikon 35mm film camera. The F5 was Nikon's flagship camera released in 1996. This is a monster. It is massive, it is so heavy. I own over a dozen 35mm film cameras, and this is the only camera that I feel comfortable enough bringing to a big production. It has great autofocus, great light metering, it is lightning fast. The only drawback I would say is that it's powered by 8 separate AA batteries, which sounds like a hassle, like just bringing a lot of batteries on set, but I swear like the battery life on this thing is actually pretty decent, and I've only had to change batteries a few times. I've owned this for about a year and a half. I got it for about $500 online. Part of me wanted to go with the Nikon F6, which is a newer version of this camera, but I would have had to spend an extra $1,000, and honestly, for $500, I feel like you're already getting so much by buying this camera. Now for this F-mount camera, I have 5 different lenses, and I'm gonna walk you through them really fast. All of these lenses are compatible with my Z-mount system because I own this Nikon FTZ adapter. First is this 28mm f2.8 E-series lens, which was released in the 70s as a more like budget-friendly option. Then I have this 35mm f1.4 lens. This is actually a more professional use lens. I've actually had a few DPs reach out to me and ask to borrow this because apparently it has a look that a lot of film people actually really like. I have a 50mm f1.8 G series lens, which is a lot newer than the other ones. It has autofocus, so this is probably the main lens that I use to shoot with this camera. Then I have a 60mm f2.8 micro lens that I actually use to scan my 35mm negatives. And finally, I have this massive Sigma 180mm f2.8 lens that I picked up in a camera store in Louisville, Kentucky for about $300 or $400. This I bought specifically for a project. I was shooting people really far away in the street. And honestly, if you're looking for a great telephoto prime, I would say definitely go for one of these. And that is the video. On the next one, I'm gonna be walking you through some of the other camera kits that I owned, but I'm eager to hear what you guys are using. So please leave me a comment. Tell me what you like, tell me what you dislike. If you have any recommendations for my kit, I'm all ears. I would love to hear from you guys. And I will see you soon. Take care.